Okay, hello again. So I will show you some of the new things that we want to add in oXygen, the three-way comparison based on an XML Diff algorithm, and also the comparison in the author page. So I will start with a few things about the three-way comparison and how you can use this when you work with different repository. Then I will tell you more about the XML Diff algorithm that we develop and the visual page and how you can compare the documents directly in the author view. So three-way diff, it's used to reintegrate or commit changes on a repository, to review the changes that you make, and it's easier to merge also the conflicts when you have conflicts with other people that are committing on the repository. There are two types of workflows. Let's say that there is an workflow when a user takes a document, changes, and then commit it on the repository. It can be locked between these times. And here you can use a two-way diff algorithm, but because you want to see also only the modification between your version of the document and the version that was on a repository. And then another user can take the same document and change it. The problem appears when a user takes a document, changes, and adds it on the repository. And another one edits the same document and has an older version of the document. And when he tries to commit on the repository, he will see that a new version was added. So now you need to determine the changes that you made, but also the changes that were made on the repository. So here you need a three-way comparison in order to find out what are the real changes that will be added on the repository. So you'll need to compare first the base revision with the current modification that you made, and you can do it with a two-way algorithm, but also with the base revision with the modifications that were made on the repository right now, so another two-way algorithm. And to see these together, you need a three-way algorithm to merge them and see what are the real changes that will be added in your document. So this algorithm is used especially when you use a Git or SVN or a versioning system that doesn't have a lock and you can commit at any time. And it helps the user the three-way helps the user to review the content that will be added and also to solve the conflicts that will be on the repository. In oXygen, there is a three-way diff algorithm and a three-way diff view. It is used in SVN client, in Synchro 7a client. And this comparison is done on lines. So the lines from the documents are compared and has some limitations when the document is rearranged and when you have an XML document that is rearranged, or when you want to compare and ignore some parts like the comments or processing instruction. So you cannot do this with a two-way diff, with a lines diff algorithm, even if it's a three-way. So an XML diff algorithm will be more appropriate, will help you to easily see the exact differences and determine what are the real modifications in your structure, and also to visualize better the real modification by ignoring, for example, the text and see only the structure, or ignoring the namespaces or the prefixes from your document and determine exactly what was the modification. And right now we have an implementation in oXygen. It's not final. I have here some sample files So this is an XML file that is modified locally. This is the base file, let's say, that was on a repository. And we can see that I modified locally here an element, this one, and I added a child. And also on the repository, someone else changed it and changed the first element and added a C element instead of A and a CC instead of B and deleted M, for example. So in this case, if I compare these files, I will select from here using a three-way diff algorithm. So now it's compared with the base left, right, and the base. Here's the left side, the right side from the repository, and the base, it's not visible. And if I compare them using a line algorithm, right now you'll get the modification like this. So you'll see that there is a conflict here, and this entire part will go here, and this entire part was added remotely. So it's not so accurate, the line algorithm. If I'll change to an XML algorithm, you'll see that we'll get more accurate comparison. So we'll determine that A was changed in C, and that B was changed in CC, and M here also was removed on the repository. So we can easily determine what are the real changes. Of course, you have these ignore options. So because you are using an XML algorithm, then you can process also the nodes that are compared. So you can ignore processing instruction, or as I told you, you can ignore a namespace declaration or a prefix renamed, because you can have, for example, the entire document changed because of a prefix change, and you want to see what are the real modifications before accepting them. Okay, you see the prefix, but the rest, what is the important information that was changed? And I have some examples here. Let's close these files. So I'll use the XML accurate algorithm, and I get here some modifications. I don't know if are visible on this projector. Not really.
It's a very high contrast, and
yeah, but I can do something. I'll go to preferences, and I'll change the color. So this is the incoming color, and let's try a stronger color. The text is not so visible, but you'll see the modifications, right? So the idea is now that you have a lot of modifications in your document, and you want to, for example, to ignore the processing instruction and just see the changes that are really made in your document. Or you want to ignore, for example, the order of the attributes. Here we have format and scope, and here we have scope and format. So I don't really want to see this change, because I just want to see the text changes, or maybe the structural changes. So I can go in options, and here we have these XML Diff options, and I can say I want to ignore processing instruction, comments, and attributes order. And if I compare again, I'll get the modification in text, for example, and the structural modification, like this entry that was added here. So you can easily spot the modification that you want. We have also this second level comparison on text nodes. So if you have a paragraph with a lot of text there, and you want to determine what are the real changes in the text, then oXygen will mark these changes separately. You can copy an entire paragraph, or you can accept an entire change, or you can go in the change and find out the words that you want to accept or reject. And I don't know, let's try also. We have here a paragraph, for example, and we have two modifications. And you can see like an entire paragraph is changed, or some blocks are changed, or you can find out that here was added colors and shapes, and here was added another word. And you can accept it also using in-place actions. The visual comparison. So there are a lot of people that are using the author mode right now, and they are not familiar with the XML. They don't want to see the XML syntax, or even the people that are using XML and wants to see only the modification that are rendered in the author mode. So you don't want to see the entire structure and so on. You want to see the modifications that are displayed in the author mode. Then you can switch to this presentation and to this presentation mode to the author and see the modification directly in the author view. This comparison, let's reset the options. This comparison in the author view also uses an XML Diff algorithm, because in author we present only XML documents, and you cannot highlight or do merge actions that will destroy your structure. So I have here another example. There are similar files, but this time I will switch to author view. See that I added here a button that switches from the text page to the author view. And we see the same modifications, but now they are rendered here in this place, and you can merge them directly from the author view. You can see the changes in the table, and you can see the exact rendering that is done in the author page. Of course, you have here also the options that are available in the text page, so you can ignore processing instruction, for example, if you have track changes and you don't want to see them, or different comments. You can also use these options for the author page, and you'll get fewer errors. If I will ignore also for fewer changes, yes, I remain with if I will ignore the text content, for example, I will see only the structural changes that are made in this document. We have also a second level comparison. You can spot the difference also in the text and merge the exact modifications. The idea is that, for example, if you have a block that is modified by two people and you have a conflict there, and you want to find out what are your modifications then and what are the remote modifications, it's easier to see them if a two-way second level comparison is made, and easily merge the modifications that are done remotely and your local modifications. And we have also these in place actions that allows you to accept them or reject them as you want. So the visual comparison allows you to merge the documents, has also support to copy all non-conflicting changes from the remote repository, or as you've seen, manages each change from the document. You can also find out in the ruler where are the differences, and you can go and spot them. You can navigate through the difference using, as in the text page, using these actions from here. And you can navigate also from the range ruler and go to find out.
It's not that visible on the projector.
Yeah.
So on the side there are markers.
Some of them, yeah.
Show where we have changes.
Yeah. They are here. So we can easily go to a modification directly from here. Okay, thank you. This is what we've done so far, and we want to have this in a future version and maybe integrate it with some versioning systems. There are people that are asking for this support to compare the documents visually, and to have this XML algorithm that it's stronger than the lines algorithm for the three-way comparison. So,
for instance, if you are using Git or GitHub or GitHub Nadolu content, this would be useful to have it as an external diff tool for Git client, for instance. So when you have a conflict, you can use this kind of tool to merge the changes.
Yes, so you will integrate this into the SON simple client, the SON client?
With our SVN client?
Yeah.
yeah, it will be integrated. Sure, it will be integrated with the SVN client, but we want to provide a three-way diff panel that will be available also for integration with other tools, like George said, with SourceTree, for example. You can put there an external tool and just pass the files that will be compared, and will pop up this three-way diff view to see the difference directly there, and you can see them in the author page or in the text page as you want.
Yes.
Okay.
Would it be possible to ignore the changes in selected XPath nodes, for example, where the timestamp inside the XML is? So I would like to see if I can send several sets, 1 to 100, for example, XPath node where to ignore the difference.
I think we can do this. It's an interesting thing.
Right now,
yeah, we don't have this right now. Yeah.
Not now, but in the future,
Yeah.
because we need to compare some configuration in XML file and the difference when we receive that everything is different, but in fact the difference is many times just only in timestamp or some user ID and so on.
Yes.
And save this definition to somewhere to be able to reload it in the future, not to every time copy paste.
Yeah. Maybe an option that will be available in the comparison part.
Yes. Yes.
I would even think of dynamically ignore differences, because when I compare two XML files from different runs of an XSLT version, for instance, and I know there will be some differences, for instance, different IDs, a general ID or something like that. It would be nice to ignore these specific differences when I notice them and then see what is left. Today I do this in a way that I perhaps delete an attribute in both versions because I know they are different, and then see what's left. But perhaps
I think the XPath. I think the XPath idea, yes, was very good because you can specify an XPath expression that will match the attributes that will be ignored, and then you can have this.
All IDs, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
And it would be nice if I compare two files and I see it graphically, but I can also export it to a single XML file where I have the changes marked as change, as it would have done with oXygen with change tracker.
Well, that already exists, and Robin here from Delta XML, they developed such a plugin for oXygen that creates basically a single document with oXygen change tracking information, so then you can just accept, reject that information. This is different ways. It's a different way.
It's a different approach. Yeah.
The information that already exists as a plugin for oXygen from Delta XML. As you know, I also wanted to mention their work on this. They also provide an n merge support for XML, so you have like n different versions in the base, and they providing a customization of the author mode in oXygen that allows you to select a specific, from a specific user, or maybe two users made the same change, and you select that, and so on. So it's quite developed.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the user interface is a big issue. How do you want to see it? Some people like to see it side by side. Some people want to see it all in one document. Some people want to accept the changes, as you said, block level, and some want to go inside. It's quite difficult when you get more than two files to actually understand what's happening. That's part of the battle, I think.
One of the reasons we work on the three-way Diff for XML is also in connection with the web author, because if you have a workflow and then you get your files and you start a review process, for instance, and you get some changes, then maybe you want all these files to be merged back into your project, but then maybe the project was changed in the meanwhile, right? So then you need a three-way to merge all those changes back to the project. So
in fact,
also, that was our thinking
the XML Diff algorithm. The three-way Diff algorithm is already used in the web author because it's used when changes are merged. For example, as George said, presented with the GitHub, and you commit on the GitHub, and you have a conflict because another person committed there, then an automatic merge is done based on the XML Diff algorithm that we have. And if there are no conflicts determined by the algorithm, then the merge will be done automatically.
Yes.
Yeah.
To go back in your case, maybe something based on the namespaces. When we generate documents, sometimes we have meta information, generation date, digital signatures, which should be in a non-regression test. And I think it will be very, very interesting when comparing two files or two directory structures.
I think the XPath idea will cover also that, because you can select anything in that namespace. So
it was just another use case.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.